What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to CanesCast. I'm Phil, here with Garrett. We got a ton to talk about today. Excited as ever because for the first time since 2017, our Canes are 7-0, and it hopefully is going to keep rolling in that way. So I can't wait to get into this game and get into what this week is, because it is hate week. It's rivalry week. A team that I hate, as you know, more than just about any other program, sport, team, anything, is coming into our backyard again, and we got to give them the kind of beating that they deserve. And I know that every Canes fan wants to give them, especially after 2 years ago. So let's get rolling. Lot to unpack. Have a new trophy in the case, at least for a year. Trophy behind Garrett. We're going to talk about that. But Garrett, I mean, a shootout. We got the Heisman Trophy winner behind center in Miami, and you can't tell me any different because this dude is just the ultimate difference maker. But aside from that, what are your thoughts on the Louisville game?
Well, let's certainly say that the running game was finally present. Miami really was pushing the ball down the field in the pass game, but what they were able to do was supplement that with the running game. Mark Fletcher got the start. I thought he looked amazing. I really do love his development. He looks quick when the ball gets in his hands. He's got a little bit of space. He's a big runner. 6'2" and over 200 pounds. But man, he really looks
He's
quick.
Like 220.
But what is the most promising part was that Damian Martinez also showed up and had a great physical, long game sealing type touchdown. So that's what we've been waiting to see from Damian Martinez all season long. You got to give it to Xavier Restrepo as well. I mean, there's all kinds of things to be excited on the offensive offensive side of the ball.
Should have scored. Restrepo should have been in the end zone twice. One, the pick play that got taken back, and two, he just lost his footing on that huge play. Man,
yeah, I've seen the game, and as we've talked about, I'll cut the game into the plays here probably tomorrow. Get that out. So look forward to that. But I've watched that game, and that play particularly, and Arroyo did do the right thing. Comes across the field and hooks in as soon as he gets to the defender to essentially create a pass route. So that they called that was a terrible call. You understand.
But then they didn't call it.
Let's just talk about the referees had to go to a hit on Cam Ward, and it could have during the game. I'm telling you, I was a little nervous. I thought that call was going to go the other way. Thank God for Tom Brady in this case and giving us the tuck rule and all that jazz.
Dude,
right? I'm just joking.
That close.
I know. I was just joking.
No, but I'm saying it didn't seem like it was clear his arm was coming forward. That, to me, you're right. We're going to touch on that. The complaining about the refs is nuts, because where was the outcry for us? The second we lose, if we lose, whether we lose on a bad call or we lose in that, no one's going to feel bad. No one's going to feel bad if it's 12 penalties to Miami 0 and Miami loses. No one's going to feel bad. So I'm tired of the ref talk.
Well, and again, the refs were not on Miami's side during that game. It was evident they were not doing us any favors. Yeah, that call went our way, but again, it was probably the right call. Again, they didn't call their pick play where they scored a touchdown on a very similar type of a route concept
to tie it up at 31.
Again, they weren't doing us any favors. They as you pointed out, there could have easily been a holding call on their long kickoff return touchdown.
Yeah.
A part of the game that really did swing their momentum in their favor. So, what I do love is that Cam Ward is the quintessential leader, an offensive juggernaut. No matter what's going on in the game, he's able to keep calm and still produce at a very high level. So you can't complain anything about the offense. Defensively, you'd like to see the tackling get a little better. Hopefully at some point this last 5 games, and then hopefully if we make the ACC championship game, of course, they are going to at least show up. This should be the week. If Duke can beat Florida State with only putting out 180 yards of total offense, this should be a game where Miami really has their way with FSU.
Didn't Duke throw for like 80 yards?
I mean 180 yards of total offense.
Yeah,
and really was in control of the game the entire way. There should be.
Well, this
should be an absolute domination here coming up this week. Given what we've seen from the offense, if the defense can finally put on, this should be the game, because there's not a lot of good things going on in the FSU quarterback situation. So you like to see that this game is finally where the defense gets their due. because I don't. There's nothing that would show me that the offense should be ready this week. We just need the defensive side. And again, what was really frustrating is that defense maybe wasn't awful, but the special teams was crap. Giving up that long touchdown, giving up the fake punt, those types of things are not undoing us this year. Thank God we finally have a team that can really take adversity and continue to roll. But that is because we got a great leader, a great offense, and let's say it's flipped from last year, because last year all I could talk about was Lance Guidry was earning his paycheck, Shannon Dawson was not. That is totally flipped this year. And again, I will say here real quickly, I will give Mario Cristobal his due going forward on fourth down on our end of the 50, at the 34-yard line twice, and we continue those drives and score touchdowns. That's huge. That's a coach who really truly believes in his offense. Is not scared of putting him in danger's way. He has the trust in his guy to get those big plays, because I mean you don't go for it on your end of the field on fourth down unless you are extremely confident you're going to make them, because that would just seriously put a hindrance on your team. So good for coach Cristobal. Good for him bringing home the Howard Schnellenberger Trophy, because that's probably something that means something to him. They're trying to get this Louisville Miami connection a little bit of steam, so that trophy does add a little something to it. So hey, it's awesome to have the trophy in Miami's case this year. Let's keep it there for a while.
Yeah, it should never go back. It should never go back. But yeah, when you look at that game, we talk about the Duke game with Florida State too, and it's a get right game for our defense. Here's the thing, that when you mention that Florida State has scored 21 points once, they haven't scored over 20 points since they've been on this continent. They scored that in Ireland against Georgia Tech. And that was a game where, to me, when you come into the season, sometimes we see this a lot in the NFL, where teams that were good the year before, then all of a sudden maybe they're not as good the next year, or vice versa. You don't really know in the beginning of the season. You're still kind of pulling from last year, so maybe you play a little tighter with teams, but they end up being really bad, or whatever. That happens across the board. I mean, injuries and things play a role with teams across the board, but we score that in a quarter. We're averaging 52, 53 points a game. So even in a terrible game, and what's funny about Cam Ward's game against Louisville is it really felt quiet. He had some plays. He had that flip on the first drive, and plays that were very Cam Ward plays. That touchdown throw to Jacoby, everybody was, it was just incredible. It was a great throw, right? Rolling out, hitting that.
What a good throw, man! That was incredible.
And then he still got out, waited. He could have ran and got 15 yards, waited, and then just drilled that sucker to the back corner of the end zone where only his guy was. It just plays like that you go, wow. And does Florida State have talent? Of course they do. But Cam Ward is just so good that even in a terrible game, I mean, look at what we did against Cal, throwing in multiple turnovers, Virginia Tech, multiple turnovers, teams that are as, maybe not as talented, but certainly not as mentally and, emotionally broken in the locker room as Florida State seems to be, and yet still found ways to win those games. So yes, the one thing about this game that scares me is it's a rivalry game, but we should dominate them. And it hopefully is a point where, because with rivalry games, I will say anything can happen, but hopefully it's a point where our defense can have one of those breakout performances that really helps kind of help them find that connection, get right with the assignments, gap integrity, and just kind of find their positive energy. Cause I think they're hearing it a lot. I think they're feeling it a lot outside the defensive line. And, like that get right game can help carry us through the rest of the season. I still want to see that. You talk about my prediction, obviously last week was very wrong, but I do feel that if that kick return doesn't happen, which there was the hold, that kick return, cool. Okay, you give it up, it sucks. Shouldn't happen though because of the hold. But then immediately fumbling and just giving them that steam. That 2 plays, they scored in 30 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever. It flipped the game on its head. That went from, it really felt like, because were they going to stop Miami? When did they stop us consistently? So it really felt like a moment where if that doesn't happen, the scoring margin is probably a lot closer to what I predicted, but that changed the game in a second. I'm happy the running game got going. We've been begging for a Martinez breakout game. That was a Martinez breakout game, because there's no way to have a better breakout game than to cement the game, put the game away with his run where he just refused to go down. And I will say that the cojones, right, to go for it on fourth down multiple times like that by Cristobal are big, right? That's huge. That's a great, great moment. Kept our drive alive. The second one, like maybe just play this position, punt that sucker. You playing with fire because now we can really put the ball in their court and screw with us. It paid off. I think that's the competition. Louisville has a lot of talent. They're a talented team. A lot of guys on that squad that would play other places, right? They were predicted a lot of people to do well in the ACC, but I think once we get into the playoff, if you're doing that against Bama, Georgia, and teams that are a little more beefy and what kind of on the level of what we've been recruiting now up front, you might need to think about that a little differently. But right now, we can do it. And Clemson probably falls into that category too. So right now, we can think about it. I am of the mindset that this week, I don't want to see the punter at all. I mean, I want blood. I know you do too. I want those guys to quit. Like, I want Florida State to feel bad. Like after 2 years ago, and knowing that we should have beat them last year after getting robbed from the safety. Oh, no one cries about that, but they can cry about our calls.
Yeah.
You know, that
I really think that
I want blood, man.
I think the thing that I saw in that game that maybe we should lean a little bit more towards also is Jalen Rivers shows back up, plays pretty well. Yep. I think, he needed to get back into the rhythm. But when they kicked him down inside to guard and then brought Markel Bell out to the left tackle again, I really like that. I think that's a great offensive line to sit in front of Cam. He had a couple sacks, but really they weren't. That was so great is like sacks before
like that.
Sacks before are drive killers, and they just literally they always seem to happen 2 or 3 of them in a row, and we really can't get our offensive mojo back. Now Cam Ward will take a sack. He either is going to make a 3rd and 14 dime pass right away, or it doesn't kill this offense's momentum.
3rd and 17. 3rd and 17. He took off, got the first.
Even if they did go with that call and let Louisville have that scoop and score touchdown, I was not afraid that Cam Ward was going to come right back and go right down the field and score again. So, 100%. They get the call right, I would say. But again, you're not out of the games no matter what. And you have ultimate confidence in this guy because certainly I was watching the game of my kid's basketball tryout on my phone. So I'm sitting there like wanting to curse and, go off, but had to keep my cool. But again, in the inside, I was not disappointed that if that call did go that route and they put 7 on the board and they tie the game, I was ultimately confident that Cam Ward was going to take the ball and get us points again. So it really feels good. It really feels good to be playing offense this way. This is something I've been waiting to see for so long. A guy that can really get it done no matter how you slice it. He's just everything you want in a quarterback. Everything you want in a quarterback, man.
And that's the thing is I was saying that earlier, and I know tangent off to different things, but this game felt kind of pedestrian. And it's weird because he still threw for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And what's funny is those plays everybody's talking about didn't happen. He didn't make any mistakes. He didn't have the bad throw, the bad play like that. It was the one throw I think we wish we could have had back for sure was that throw over the middle to Restrepo. We ended up punting on that drive, but that was just a little out of his reach. And Restrepo, we know it's out of his reach because Restrepo catches everything.
Really, the first drive, he has Isaiah Horton coming across the middle. I mean, that's probably if he catches it, puts it there, that's a touchdown right off the bat too. So even though, again, go back to Jakari Brown, right? When Jakari Brown misses Javier Restrepo wide open, the whole game goes south after that, right? You were like, we had to hit that play. We had to have that. But those plays can be missed now, and it's just go right back to the line of scrimmage. The next play is probably going to be a dime and a touchdown, right? So it's just such a dynamic, difference in what we are now, where we've come from, and what we've been trying to survive with for all these years. So, man, it feels good. Feels good to be rooting for this team, man, because the offense in a shootout like this, again, Louisville was coming with everything to have, going for, again, a fake punt on their end of the field. I mean, they were barely at midfield, but that's a team who's putting it all out on the field. They have a great coach. I'm going to sit here and say Brom's a great coach. They have that kid played really well, that quarterback, the receiver, the running back. I know he was a little dinged up and didn't finish the game strong, but I mean, of course he had a 50-yard almost touchdown. So they were coming at it with every bullet in the gun got emptied, right? That's the kind of game that Miami is not able to win for the last 22 years. This is the game that they come out. They are desperate because, again, if they lose this game, they're basically out of it in contention for anything of significant value at the end of the year. So the fact that Miami is able to take somebody's best shot, again, defensively, we weren't really doing great, but all we need is get one stop, and credit to the defense getting that forcing that turnover and scoring on that end of the game, because essentially that really was the score that was the difference, right? So we won by 7. So Simeon Barrow and Ruben Bain have been getting great rapport going, with the two of them on the field finally, with Bain missing all those games. I love Simeon Barrow's play. I wish Tyler Barron would kind of start showing back up again, because I do think once they put it all together, the three of them, once they're on the field and start kind of going after people, we're going to be pretty tough up front. The secondary has a little bit to be desired, because I just think they have a hard time holding in coverage. There's busts, bad angles being taken on some of these missed big plays, right? So, well, but again, I think we've got the guys to do good on defense. It's just got to be put in together here at some point.
I'm hoping that this starts to come back together. I'm hoping that the defense, as we go through these games, are starting to kind of iron those things out and smooth that out, and that gets those miscommunication things that we didn't see against Florida, we didn't see for the first few weeks, starts to iron themselves out and starts to get better. And, we can overcome that. Getting Brown back whenever that happens is going to be huge. But here's what these plays say to me when Louisville's going for the fake punt. Louisville's going for it on 4th downs, just like USF trick plays. Everybody's trying something. Cal with these plays, everybody's doing something, right? We talked about it. It just means that they know you can't hold this offense down that long. So the opportunities are all super important when you go against Miami. And can you take advantage of our defense? Maybe, yeah. Teams have been doing that. But can our defense get stops? Yeah, we got a pretty great defensive line. And can your defense stop our offense? Hard to say. Cal's got one of the best defenses on paper, right? Statistically so far this season in college football. And we spotted them a 25-point lead, and we still came back because Cam Ward is just that dude. So that shows me that these guys are all desperate, which, again, if he has a bad game and we have that can backfire. If teams are getting it and they're getting it their way and we're not making it happen, that bad game happens. To be perfectly honest with you, I'd almost be okay with that bad game against Florida State, because they feel so bad that it feels like that's a game that even if you have a bad game, you should still walk over. But, yeah, there's a lot to like. Chief among them, obviously Ward, as always, and how well the running game was, or how well the running game performed, excuse me. But now I think we should pivot as we get close to the end of the show to a team that I said earlier I have a lot of fire and hate in my heart for. I do not like the Seminoles, and I know you do not like the Seminoles. And it is rivalry week. It is a big time game, and we've hinted at it. We've alluded to it. We've said a lot of things already. But what's your perfect case scenario for this? And then we'll go over scores. Give me your score prediction. What are we, 19-point favorites? But what are your thoughts on this rivalry and what a statement like this could mean right now?
Well, again, when you have a team that's coming in that's so downtrodden, I mean, they're 1-6. This officially puts them out of even bowl eligibility. So you can't take your foot off the gas. This is a game you got to get retribution for 2 years ago. This is a game where you've got to have it all put together. I do think in defensive line wise, Florida is capable of doing some disrupting things. Florida State. Excuse me. Florida State's able to do some things that can disrupt you. They blocked a couple kicks at Clemson versus Clemson, so you don't want to see any of that in this game. Don't give them any reason to get hope or keep this game close. I think it's get a score early and then keep scoring and stay on top of these guys. Just absolutely take the life out of them. That's what I would like to see, perfect case scenario. And again, this is one of those games you gotta take your rival, completely take their soul, snatch it right out of their heart right from the get-go. We've got everyone in position to do that. Defensively, you just got to have it all put together at some point. And again, this looks like a great year to have it. Their quarterback situation looks awful. Going to a true freshman last game and then trying to go back to the guy that started the game. When you're doing that kind of stuff, you're in disarray. These are a dumpster fire. We have to take advantage of this time catching Florida State at the top of our game. They're at the bottom of the game. We've got to make it known that this is the year, and we're gonna really put it on you.
Here's the question. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But is this the worst Florida State team? This is why you and I have talked a lot about this. And Florida State, as much as I despise them being good is good for the sport and it's good for the state, just like it is when we're good, just like it's good when Florida's good, right? Like if all these teams are good and they have some say in the college football landscape, that's a good thing. I think that's good for recruiting. That's good for everything. But that's on a national level. I'll agree with the pun. I've heard plenty of pundits say that, but on a level for us, what we're talking about right now, I 100% love that they suck. And I hope that they suck and keep sucking and suck some more because recruiting, everything struggles for them. I've told you this for years. We've talked about this. Every Fuller State fan's excited about Norvell because of that season. This guy has had really a terrible resume in my mind for Florida State. They had last year, right? It went south. They didn't make the playoff. We know what that season was. Jordan Travis gets hurt. Without that, they probably make the playoff. Won the ACC, good for them. But they've had two like 0-3 seasons to start the year, whatever, or 2 or 3
Three
of
of
them.
them.
Three of them.
Three of
0-3
them.
seasons. This is the worst season they've had since before Bobby Bowden. This guy can't recruit. He can't develop. I still am not sure. It might have changed, but at least as of like a year ago, he had not had a player that he recruited and developed all the way through go pro. Anybody that went pro at Memphis, it was after he was gone. Guys that have gone pro or guys that he brought in or that were transfer portal guys at Florida State. Not the same thing. I don't believe that they can develop. And I know we've talked about it. You have to have that base in that foundation based in recruiting. Yes, Cam Ward is huge. He's the best quarterback in the country. Yes, he's a transfer, but transfer portal is going to be a part of everybody's repertoire. It's how you hit on those and you use it to supplement. It's college free agency. And is every team going to miss on guys every year? Yes. But do you hit on the most important? Do you have the foundation to withstand that? That's the important thing. And Florida State is a perfect example of living through that portal, living and dying by it. Next year, they could potentially have a great season if they hit on the portal again. Hard to imagine with what we're seeing now that they would hit on the portal, but that's that feast and famine. That's what TCU did. You have to have that balance. I agree with you. Catch them, knock them out, finish this off, make sure they're not bowl eligible. The one thing that I regret a little bit is all the stuff you and I have talked about with the pundits or all the commentary before the season started with how they were happy with DJU. They wanted DJU. They didn't want Cam Ward. All the Florida State polls, it was funny you hear him talking about, well, we got the better quarterback. He's perfect. He's a perfect fit. DJ's the perfect fit here. Cam Ward's nothing. And then when we got him, oh, DJU's still better. Polls beforehand showing that fans actually wanted Cam Ward over DJU, Florida State fans. So it's funny to me. And we don't get to see that domination with him behind center versus Cam Ward behind center because, he's out. But that would have been great. That would have been great. But yes, we need to embarrass him. I want to hang 60 on him. The only thing I hope is that we don't have an injury, a bad injury of some kind. And do I want to see foot on the throat, like let Cam Ward play all game and just absolutely annihilate him? I do, but it's ultimately not worth it. Let our backups get in. Seeing a big guy, seeing Maui Noah, either one, seeing Ward, seeing Restrepo, seeing Martinez, Fletcher, Rivers, anybody that's that's been a huge reason. Rivers obviously got hurt, but it's just not.
Yeah,
worth
you'd like
it.
to see Emory Williams get in here at some point after Cam Ward gets his Heisman stats completed and
100%.
Get a little retribution on his own, right?
After breaking his arm last year, I want to see him come in there and just crush it. And then he doesn't need to play again for the rest of the season unless we were to need him in a playoff game of some kind like that if we get to that point, which hopefully we do. But yeah, I want to see us just beat them up and take it. And I think this team has shown, Florida State has shown that if you can take the wind out of their sails, do I expect a punch of some kind? Do I expect a burst of energy of some kind from Florida State? Yes, it's a rivalry game. They're going to be hyped and ready. Do I think they might even like potentially score first or something like that? Yeah. But this team, if they get down, they're going to quit. That's how it feels. I don't think Florida State has any kind of comeback in them. Not that they could keep pace anyway, but I think if they get down, if we come out, like you said, and score, they're going to quit. Can you imagine us coming down? Let's say we get the ball first, we score, we first turnover and we score on that, or their first drives a turnover. Like the wind is going to come out of their sails. The rock is going to be packed, oranged out from my understanding. People are going to be going crazy. And it's just going to be the proper way it should be, because let's remember when we beat the living hell out of them a couple of years ago, it was the COVID year. Scattered
Yeah, I was
crowd.
going to say, when you asked earlier if this is the worst FSU team, that's the only season that comes to mind is the 2020 season when they would essentially quit in the season. They would,
Yeah.
call off a game just because they were so crappy. So
Oh, they would have.
yeah, I think
They did that on purpose. Yeah.
this is yeah, they're scared. They were scared and they were being,
Clemson would have
a
just.
dog shit program that year. So
Yeah.
finally I got to say a curse word out here on the show. Thank God I got one out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's really what you want to, you want to see. This is the year, put 60 on them, like you said, keep them in single digits. This is the year to absolutely hammer Florida State.
Yeah, it is. And with that, it's what we're all hoping for. We're all going to be watching, and the crowd. The reason I'm saying that is the crowd will be what the crowd will be. When they did it to us, unfortunately, it was 2 years ago when they beat us by the same margin we beat them 2 years before. It was in our house, and that sucked. But obviously, so it was nice that their crowd didn't get to enjoy it. But now we're at home, and because when we did it in our house the year that in 2020, it is just the crowd will be electric, and this is going to be huge for recruits. So many people there to witness this in person, and just
we really need
it,
the DJ Pickett I heard is going to be in the game, in the stands for this game. We really got to get that guy in the orange and green because we really need help at cornerback. So hopefully this is the game that he's just like, I gotta be there. You've started to see some things on social media that he's maybe not as locked in as he would lead on to as LSU commitment. So yeah, we really need to perform well, have a great environment, because we need, like you said, you got to supplement. The interesting thing is you have Clemson, Army, and Navy. They're all in the top 25, and not a single transfer portal player on their roster as far as incoming people. So, you can do it in purely recruiting standpoint. I guess you can have some success, but I think again nowadays you really are going to supplement. Most teams are they're going to be successful. Are going to have a good mix of both, good recruiting base, but now you are going to get a few positions locked in by having transfers coming in.
The only thing I worry about is them going, well, you're the reason. You're the guy, right? You could help flip this program around. Look at how bad we are. You're going to get playing time right away. They have that argument for guys like that when you have not that he's going to go to Florida State.
And again, it's about money. Let's not get this twisted. There's
money.
They have backing as far as financial backing. So it's not all about the old recruiting, right? There is that caveat. You can pay enough to get a good player then in.
I feel like Florida State right now is in a wonderful position for us. If we destroy them and take care of business, ultimately I'm okay with a win. Just win the game. Yes, I want to embarrass them, but just win the game. That's what's most important. But Florida State's in a great spot where they're lame duck coach. They cannot fire that coach. It is way too much money. They had to buy out Jimbo. They had to buy out Taggart. Now they're going to have to buy out Norvell. It's how many L's are in Norvell right now? There's 6. There'll be 7, 8, 9. That's how you spell it, right? With all those L's. So with that, man, what's your score prediction?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the score prediction? I'm going to go with, this is a big game for Miami. I do think they show out here. So let's go with 56-14.
Yeah, I'm right on board with you, and I think that spread is going to be covered. But screw it, man. I want to say let's treat this like an FCS program. I want 63 to 13. I'll spread it out a little further from you. I'll give them those garbage time touchdowns, but that's what it needs to be. Is it more likely to be 45-20? Probably, but I want the blood,
which is still great. I'll take that all day long.
Exactly. My biggest thing is I don't want them to score the most points they've scored all season, because these Florida State fans, as loony as they are, they're going to go, oh, you still let us score the most. It's crazy stuff they reach for is beyond me. It's asinine. But as always, guys, thank you for watching CanesCast. It is all about the U. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all this stuff. We appreciate the following and the continued support. We're continuing to grow just like our Canes are, right? So all about the U, guys. Go Canes, and let's kick the hell out of some Florida State Seminole ass this weekend. Go Canes.
Go Canes.